Hello everyone, Guillaume Nesvana here, host of the E-Commerce Wizards podcast, where I feature leaders in e-commerce and business. Today's guest is JQ Fu. He's a co-founder of two companies. One's called LTVplus, and the other is recoverpayments.com. And today we'll be talking about how do you turn your contact center, which may be also called customer service center or support center, into a profit center, which is what we want, to make money there instead of just being a drain on your resources, especially if it's a purchased service at a fixed price and not some pay-per-hour customer service as you may have in the service business. So turning your contact center into a profit center is today's topic. Before we get started, we have two things. First, a shout out to Robert Rand of JetRails, who introduced us. So otherwise this episode would not exist here. So thank you, Robert. And our sponsorship message.
This episode is brought to you by Mage Montreal. If a business wants a powerful e-commerce online store that will increase their sales, or to move piled up inventory to free up cash reserves, or to automate business processes to reduce human processing errors, our company, Mage Montreal, can do that. We've been helping e-commerce stores for over a decade. Here's the catch. We're specialized and only work on the Adobe Magento e-commerce platform, also known as Adobe Commerce. We're among only a handful of certified companies in Canada. We do everything Magento related. If you know someone who needs design, support, training, maintenance, or a new e-commerce website, email our team at support@MageMontreal.com or go to MageMontreal.com. That's MAGE Montreal.com.
All right, JQ, thank you for being here today.
Thanks so much for having me, Guillaume. Really happy to be here.
So, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your background as an entrepreneur in a few minutes?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is GQ, and I'm one of the co-founders of LTVplus and Recover Payments. Now, LTVplus is basically a customer service outsourcing company for e-commerce brands, and we do this through omnichannel customer service outsourcing, be it email, chat, phone support, or SMS. We cover all those channels. Recover Payments, in short, is a full payment recovery service and a platform. So, for example, if you're using Recharge, we'd integrate with Recharge, we pick out those full payments, and we would have human experts help you perform those recoveries. So that's essentially for those two businesses. And in terms of, when we started that, I think it was with LTVplus, we did this about a few years ago. And funny enough, we didn't think about e-commerce as the first industry that we would go after. We were actually coming from more from a SaaS background. And back then, my co-founder and I, my co-founder David and I, we talked about figuring out how we could create a remote outsourcing company for customer service. And we just thought about, hey, let's just do this for SaaS, right? And let's do this for SaaS businesses. But then we got a lead to do live chat for e-commerce for an e-commerce store. I recall I think it was a bedding company. And then that's how everything got started. We started off from live chat, and then people started asking, can you also do other channels like email and all that? And that's essentially how LTVplus got started. And then at some point, about a year or so ago, people started asking us about, hey, could you also help with full payment recovery? And so what started off as a service of LTVplus gradually evolved into Recover Payments today, which is both the service and the software, because we realized we needed a CRM to better track the information of people coming in. And we were using Google Sheets before, and not shy to share about that. But we built out a CRM to figure that out, and so that there's transparency and visibility for both our clients and ourselves when it comes to the recovery tactics.
All right, thank you. So I hinted at it a little bit in the intro here, but let's say when you have a service business and you charge per hour, whatever the service is, you're a lawyer, an accountant, or web design, or e-commerce agencies like we are. When the customer contacts us, there's a support ticket and there's hourly billing. So you're always happy to have contact from the customer there on the support system. They know it's hourly billing. Like, you call your accountant or your lawyer, there's going to be a bill with this. It's normal. But when you're selling something else, either a SaaS, a subscription, or you're selling e-commerce products, when somebody's contacting your team about a problem with their order, well, that's costing you money. It's not placing a new order right now, or they want to return or whatever it is. So it is quickly becoming a loss center if it's not managed properly. So we want to know how to change that contact center where customers contact your company into a profit center. So how do you go about this, JQ?
Sure. So that's an interesting example, and we'll cover that as we, I guess, start from the beginning. I guess a good way to look at it would be how we would split this up into different sections, right? So the first part, we talk about the initial part where a visitor has not become a customer yet, or even a repeat visitor who's a customer, right? They're coming to shop, right? The first thing is, do you already have live chat activated on your site? Obviously it's 2022, and I think this is it's quickly adopted for most brands, adopted by most brands, but not everyone is actively thinking about it, because the first thing that they think of is that when they trigger live chat, it's going to open up a can of worms, if you will, right? It's going to open up floodgates of customers contacting you. And it's like, hey, like you said, where's my order, right? And so they think, that's like another thing. I don't necessarily want to work with live chat, because like that might just
Do I have the staff for it? Is the main question that merchants typically have. We work with.
Exactly. And how do I staff that? How do I do that? So there are two parts to that. First of all, if you're working with a help desk, and most e-commerce help desks at this point can actually do this, how much of that can you automate? First of all, right? To provide a self-service setup. So in that sense, number one, you're helping to provide information upfront through a sort of chatbot. I wouldn't say it's like a full-blown chatbot, but like a self-service chatbot where you can, for example, look up information and say, hey, where's my order? They can pull that from your system and give you that information immediately without you having to connect with an agent or wait for an agent reply. So by doing that, first of all, you would already have, number one, made a customer happy, because, well, not happy, depending on the status of the order, right? But you would have already provided information really quick. Number two, you would also reduce the workload from your customer service team. We're going to get to the live chat team shortly. So that automation in itself already creates that experience. And then, so that helps to reduce cost and time, ideally, right? Because, this is a very simple fix. And then on top of that, what happens then to the complex inquiry? So that naturally goes over to your human agents. But how does that then change? How does that, coming back to the point, how do you turn that into profit? So first of all, with the agents that you have on your live chat, for example, visitors that come through, they will always have questions, right? They will have thoughts, do I buy this? Do I buy that? Whichever, right? And when you're proactively engaging them, depending on your demographics, you create an opportunity to start a conversation with them. And when you start a conversation with them, you'll be able to find out, okay, what are they really looking for? What possible issues do they have with the shopping experience, or doubts that they have about the products that they want to buy? And so that's when your agent, with that conversation, is able to start giving or recommending products that actually fit what the customer is, or the visitor is really looking for, right? The potential customers are really looking for. And then from there, they can not just recommend what they're actually looking for, and possibly also upsell at some point with regards to whatever they're purchasing, right? It could be like a complimentary add-on that will help them get the best product experience. For example, I'm just like off the top of my head, like if you're in let's say you're shopping for clothing, you bought a pair of jeans, maybe that typically most of your customers, when they buy this X belt that goes with this jeans, they're generally happier. You get really good feedback. They like it. It compliments well. And then so you suggest that, and then that basically is, it's number one, you've recommended a great product, like a suitable product. Number two, you've also increased the order value as a result through chat.
Yeah, you suggest an additional product. You want a Big Mac with that or something. Yeah, so for sure you can suggest additional products, which is cross-selling. You could suggest a higher value product that replaces the current product, which is upselling. And then I guess it may vary from company or industry, but how do you see this task being done? Is this done by a very knowledgeable product expert who can right away give advice and has deep product knowledge, or can you sort of field a more junior agent that would have just like a first level filtering of basic recommendations?
That's a great question. So I think the first step involves basic, well, I would say product knowledge, right? Understanding how things work. I would say that this is possible for juniors only if they're well trained. That's one. And number two, that they're really passionate about the brand. What that means is, for example, if I'm running let's say like a sports supplements brand, right? And I'm looking for customer service staff. I don't just like, anyone could technically do the job, but you want someone who's like, oh yeah, I'm probably into fitness or into sports, and I know what I'm talking about, because I would already bring with me my own personal experience taking supplements, or understanding what works. So that's one. And when you have a customer service agent that is driven, that changes the way they think when they interact with customers, right? It's not just someone reading off a script. They're like, okay, yeah, what's your fitness routine like? What are you training for? What sports do you play, or what sports do you do? So that in itself already gives a much better chance of an agent recommending the right products or understanding what's there. But then on top of that base, the very important layer is obviously having the agent know, ideally some level, like inside out of the products that you have, like what are the key products, and what would actually work well, and presenting that playbook or that cheat sheet that would really help the agent a lot at the get-go. So to come back to your question, I think a junior that's well trained and is passionate about the brand can definitely deliver the results.
Yeah, so the key idea here being that, well, do cross-sell, do upsell, and have someone who is driven to suggest things and to try to truly help the customer and does care. It's surprising in many places. You just go, you have, let's say, an appointment, whatever it is, and then they don't necessarily suggest you another appointment. It's like, come on, increase your sales game here. The receptionist should suggest an additional appointment if that is applicable. So the upsell right away, just like that. A lot of people will say yes. If you leave it to the customer to wait and call back, that's an additional effort on the customer. Like, I believe the customer should only make one effort. If they reach out to you once, and then you take charge of the whole client experience from there. Reach out, automate, make sure that you suggest stuff all the way throughout the whole customer lifetime journey here.
And one interesting thing to add on to that as well is, we talked about upsell, but some merchants or business owners might not like me saying this, but sometimes it might even be better for an agent to so-called, since the concept of upsell, let's talk about downsell, meaning the whole point of this is that you want your customer service team to recommend the right products, be it costing more or be it costing less. And the reason is simple. Your ultimate goal is to ideally create evangelists with each interaction, with each purchase. You don't want someone to say, oh, I'm going to sell you this really expensive product, but then, hey, it's not actually what I want. This is completely not what I expected. But when you know someone's preference, you just recommend the right product, they will come back. They will talk about you to others. And that's worth much more than just trying to make that one-time sale. At least that's what we've seen with the merchants that we support.
Yes, I've seen this from GoDaddy. We had a huge list of domain names in there, and the agent called us, and at the end of the call, he had reduced our bill by 25%, which was a lot of money. And it was impressive. Hey, they paid an agent to call me to reduce my bill by 25%. Like, what the?
Yeah,
but then there was, it made an effect, and I'm talking about it today. So
there you go.
That pays off for sure. So I do agree with that general philosophy of always guiding well the customer with integrity there and buy the right product. Also, talking about business, of course, this is back to the business model. Make sure the profit margin at each level of the business makes sense. As you scale up, you should make more profit, not less. Sometimes there's too much volume discount given on the extra fancy stuff, because otherwise the price tag becomes too big or whatever. That if you look at just the margin, you might as well just sell always the medium package instead of the large package, because you're giving away too much. But that's business fundamentals to double check the business model there.
For sure.
Anyway.
And so, to add on to that part, so we've talked about the live chat part, and one of the other reasons why I brought up live chat is because it's one of the it's a pretty good channel to convert customers, right? Because, you're able to act there and then, and depending on how the interaction goes and how well trained your team is, that's a really good way to convert customers. And so that, in that sense, contributes to the profit center idea. Now, on top of that, and you've just mentioned the scalability piece, right? When you have, especially Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and we all know that, and the holiday seasons are random spikes in traffic, right? So what do you do with your team? Do you just hire more people and put them there, and then kind of take on more overhead costs with your customer service team? Do you, what options are there? So first of all, always look at your tech and see how much of that can you actually automate without affecting your customer experience too much. Because sometimes it just gets annoying when you have everything automated. It's like, hey, I just really need to talk to someone right now because it's urgent. And then, you have to go through 10 levels of,
Before you
whatever.
can press 0 to talk to someone. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also kind of why like the IVR systems like are really annoying sometimes. That's why
If you're stuck in a maze and then you wait 30 minutes to talk with someone and you're talking to the wrong person, and then you wait another 20, 30 minutes to talk to the right person. That can be horrible customer experience. But the AI chats are getting much better now, that you could have just basic validation question. Are you an existing customer or are you a new customer? If you just question like that, you're calling about a new order, an order that's not yet received. Do you want to return product? Like you could just quickly filter a few ways like this, and then you offer to talk with someone, because for sure any inquiry sort of fits into one of those if they're an existing customer and so on.
And one of the interesting things here is that, with chatbots, if you were to build like a fully original chatbot that's catered to your brand, it's usually hard for merchants because it depends on two things. One, the volume of conversations for the model to work well. Number two, the cost of it, right? So most brands would consider working with more basic chatbots for that to work. And on top of that, it's not even just the like that sort of automation or so-called AI implementation. We're also talking about automating your workflows, because the faster your agents can work on the back end, the faster that they can go through tickets, and also ideally in a more personalized state. So one thing that we talked about is, on the topic of basically turning your contact center into a profit center, how do you increase the lifetime value, or how do you personalize the experience for each customer? And so it's not just like, hey, I'm going to write an email or an SMS or whatever from scratch. Rather, you start working with the different workflows that help you tag your tickets appropriately, or it's just like sequencing other actions that will take place when you respond to a ticket or when you receive tickets with through a certain channel, etc., so that you really reduce the amount of time that reduce the amount of manual labor actually that your agents have to go through, and also give them the option to personalize these responses a lot quicker, because the workflow automation has already generated the right kind of general response that they can customize without them having to think. And so in that sense, that gradually spills over to the fact that your team can be, I wouldn't say lean and mean, but you have a lean customer service team that can support the customers that are coming through, even with the influx in traffic, depending on the season, right? And so that helps to weather those aspects.
Well, unless the company is a really huge brand, I would tend to keep it simple and just have validation questions sort of direct the customer quickly, like 3 clicks or something, and then you're talking with someone, the right person, ideally, right away there. So I would generally not recommend a huge investment in live chat unless you have an insane volume, very large company, and so on, which then it can be totally a business case justifiable there. Keep it simple, like 3 validation and talk to someone. And I do see AI bots, maybe like 10 years from now, pretty much replacing humans, more or less, except if you have a super specialized question that must be answered by like a certified like engineer or certified gemologist if you're selling jewelry or whatever. So it will get there for sure.
And I think that like this is also kind of like the getting acclimatization phase, if you will. People are getting used to working with bots more, because it's quite annoying when you have to go through like 10 or 20 validation questions. Sometimes they're asking this, asking that.
It's not too many.
The responses aren't, and sometimes the responses are not exactly what you're looking for as well. And then you just ultimately go straight to a chat agent. So I think there's that need to get people used to chatbots, and I think that's already been going on obviously for quite a few years, and that will, as you say, change in the coming 5 to 10 years. Might even be quicker than that, and then you will see like a hybrid solution where chatbots work really well for maybe L1 L2 kind of like inquiries, and then gradually if something super complex, it just goes straight to an agent, and that kind of saves an agent a lot of time. And depending on the volume and the cost of setting up such a bot, that would obviously help reduce your costs for a contact center dramatically.
So for sure, to reduce the cost, turn this from a cost center to profit center, it's not a million ways. You have to either generate additional sales through all the ways that people contact you, or you have to reduce costs by using a lot of automation. It's your 2 paths. So chatbot can help, a little bit of a self-help, FAQs, that does work. Knowledge base does work on reducing volume on on call centers and so on. And then you
Yep.
need agents that will actually proactively suggest stuff, and they truly
Exactly.
care about the customer there, and helping them out.
And I think one other, like one final piece of the puzzle would be, the world has changed a lot dramatically. Well, the world has changed dramatically after COVID, right? Now COVID's here, kind of like the stick, and
Yeah.
whatever that's happening in the world, we'll leave it at that. But everyone's working remote. It's also changed the idea that you no longer have to hire someone that's like right next to you. Of course, that's the vision of the company. That doesn't change. But for example, start thinking about where could you hire people in the world, because then that kind of also changes the way the kind of changes the way that your budget would be spent on customer service. For example, you could hire a lot of great people across the world. You don't have to hire someone within the same country unless it's really needed. That's one. And then number two, also perhaps consider, on the topic of influxes, or sudden peaks, you'd want to partner up with probably an outsourcing partner, and so that way you're able to have agents on call, sort of like, that this season's coming, but you only need, say, an additional 10 agents for those 2 to 3 months, right? You can work with an outsourcing partner to take care of that for you. And typically outsourcing partners would already have them trained. They'll work with you to figure out the like what's the training program like, what they need to know, and they can also offer you their best practices from other merchants that they support. Not the secret, not the trade secrets, but like what the best practices are. And so you get basically like an ally, or like a strategic partner that will help you improve your customer service during that period and in general, right? And then the next season comes again, you work with them again, and then once it's over, you just basically disconnect at that point and then come back again. And so that gives you that flexibility. And when you outsource, you also you reduce your costs a lot, because you no longer have to think about the training time. You no longer have to go through the whole recruitment process. You work with someone that's actively specialized in that.
Right. And as a last question here, sort of shotgun question, is there anything else that you'd like to cover about this topic?
I think that as long as you have like with customer service, don't think of it as, it's money that you have to spend just because, like, like to address like certain concerns and all. I think of it as an investment into the longevity of your customer, right? And it's a very good channel. Well, it's a very good, I'll use the term channel, but they're obviously multi-channels, but it is a very great channel for you to establish a great relationship with your customers, great relationships with their customers, and also form a much better bond that allows you to have that exchange and create a much more personalized experience that allows customers to better connect with your brand. And people like that. So
It's true. And to keep in mind that there are still ambassadors of your brand, and that the customer experience does include all those little annoying things about follow-ups and status updates, or even a product return, which is not cool, because I'm getting a product back, I have to send money back, especially for small merchants. They don't like it at all. The owner is still very involved and so on. But it's part of the whole experience, and that the customer can come back later. And I'm not going to name names, but there's one large store in Canada that anytime you try to return stuff, they treat everybody like they're a thief for trying to screw them up or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But then you have the other experience with a store like Costco or Walmart. It's no issue, almost no question asked. Costco is like, okay, thank you, here's your money, bye, have a great day. I understand why from a business point of view also, because they have in their contract, Costco, that is the merchant that takes all the hits anyway, so they're not too hard on it. They just make a super smart and super easy experience. But keep it in mind also that the customer's experience is the whole package, including every contact point.
Exactly, 100%.
All right. So, JQ, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
You can find me on LinkedIn. Just look for GQ LTVplus, and I pretty much will show up. I think that there's only one GQ at LTVplus so far.
All right. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks a lot, Guillaume. You take care.